everyone, and welcome to Offsides, episode 1. For those who've kind of followed us on our other socials, we are rebranding. I shouldn't say rebranding, kind of adding an extra avenue to In a League of Their Own. In a League of Their Own is still an entity. It's kind of the network. Offsides is kind of our football, hockey podcast that we're going to be starting off with here. We'll still highlight other sports now and then as it's relevant, kind of world-breaking stuff, but football and hockey is kind of going to be our two focuses going forward. So starting off then, per usual with the NFL here, my first kind of question and take for you. The Packers finalizing bringing in Raiders interim head coach Rich Bisaccia to become the next special teams coordinator. So one big step of their concerns this offseason, obviously kind of the shit show in the playoff game with miscues on special teams. Other than bringing Rodgers and Adams back as kind of the other two main focuses for the Packers this offseason, what other part of the team do you think needs most fixing and either needs a coaching change or they go after a free agent? Aside from special teams, bring back Rodgers and Adams, what other part of the Packers do you think they need to kind of fix up this offseason?
One, I feel like we need to hire a defensive coordinator. I feel like that should be the biggest concern right now, getting the right guy in as the defensive coordinator. Then I feel like we should fill the rest of our defensive staff as we still have jobs that are open. Third, I'd say we need to get underneath the salary cap because that's a pretty big deal as far as getting ready to who you can take, who you can't take, what trades we can make, what we can't make, just by knowing where your salary cap number lies. I'd say maybe bring in a defensive end, defensive outside linebacker. Looks like Zadarius and Preston both might be not on the team going forward. We have one guy with Rashawn Gary, but we still need one other guy on the other side. I feel like that always helps. Also, adding depth to our cornerbacks. Rasul Douglas, great pickup. Know that we can keep him. Alexander, we know that we can keep him. Stokes. But then there's still two other holes that are out there that still aren't full strength picks. Like they're guys that can do okay, but they're not. All right, these guys can shut the opponent down. Like, and then Bakhtiari, what's his shape? Add an offensive tackle. Let's get a guy there who can take his job if he can't go, and let's move on. Like, I feel like there's a couple things, like a handful of guys who the Packers have always kind of been, are we gonna keep this guy because we love the person, or should we actually move on and try to win? Like, I feel like where we've gotten to with Rodgers losing to San Francisco that first round, I feel like that kind of with the Rodgers thing, question marks. Like, if we get him, if he stays, we need to win. And in order to do that, keep Alan Lazard, tender his offer, accept Jair Alexander's fifth-year option. Obviously, you're going to have to franchise Devontae, but then you're also going to have to rework a deal on him to keep him for a couple of years. Let's get a kick returner for once. I don't remember the last time Green Bay's ever had like a legitimate kick returner.
No.
Or a punt returner. It's always just been a wide receiver or a running back. It's just like, why don't we actually get a guy? They could actually do something with the ball when he gets it and not just, oh, you're just going to fair catch it. Whoever our punter is, Bjorkquist, I say we bring in a punter and give him some competition. Same with Crosby. Let's add a kicker. Let's make them compete and earn the starting job instead of just giving it to them like we pretty much have this last year. Like, he's costed the Packers a lot of points, of missed points this year. And special teams is a huge thing. Obviously, like you said, we got a new special teams guy coming in. Hopefully what he does is a change, but special teams has always been a weakness in Green Bay. And whether that's them, the Packers as an organization just saying, oh, we got Crosby, he'll make his field goals, we'll kind of just say fuck it almost to the punting team, the punt, all that stuff. It's like, yeah, we'll be all right. We got Crosby. Well, now that he's shown that he's not the man, not Mr. 100 anymore, that's a lot of concerns. And that's the reason why they did lose against San Francisco was special teams. So yeah, I mean, there's a handful of things that they need to do. What are we going to do with Tanyan?
You got to keep him.
You know, like he's going to want money. Like he's earned it.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that I feel like are coming that can come in, ask for a good price because they deserve it. And whether it's going to be up to Green Bay to be like, hey, you're going to have to take a little less, but we're going to try to go win a Super Bowl, or let these people go get their bag somewhere else. But we're competing for the Super Bowl. Unless obviously Rodgers walks away, then we're basically reset 100%.
Yeah, they got rid of Sternberger. He hasn't been on the team since week 4 because he started the year with a suspension and they cut him.
Yeah, for the PEDs. Yeah. Who's our other tight end?
Daphne. Daphne, right. Mercedes Lewis, Tanya.
Yeah, Mercedes Lewis. What are we gonna do with him? He's old. He did have a huge fuck up in the NFC Championship game, which did. Yeah. Like he's Rodgers' guy. He's the team's guy. Like big dog. They call him. Everybody loves him. That one play. Like, is that enough to be like, all right, dude, go hang him up?
Yeah. I wouldn't say so because I think since he's been a Packer, that's been the first time that he's had a bad play. I mean, look at Kevin King. He has 10 bad plays a game, and they still keep him. So I don't think you get rid of Mercedes Lewis the first time he coughs up the football. But kind of circling back to the top, you mentioned defensive coordinator. Do you not because Joe Barry, first year, turns the defense around, one of the top defenses, leads in a bunch of categories. Like, you're saying they move on from him? Because you said defensive coordinator was like the first thing you said.
I meant the offensive.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
I said that backwards.
Yeah.
I meant to say offensive coordinator, but we still have to fill our defensive staff as far as jobs that are open. D-line coach, corners. Yeah. I said that backwards. I meant to say offensive coordinator.
Okay. So I was going to say is he did pretty damn good. I don't know why you'd want to get rid of him already, but yeah, I mean, all the points you brought up, I mean, in clear sight, like I said, the biggest things to fix were special teams and then bringing back Rodgers and Adams. That's all the media really talks about. But yeah, there's more to the team as far as things that need to be fixed than those couple main things. Yeah, fixing the big problems helps, but also it's the small problems that lose you games down the road. Like special teams, the smallest component of, offense and defense makes up 80-90% of the game. The only time special teams is on the field is when you're kicking the ball off, kicking a field goal, extra point, punting. Maybe 5 to 10 plays of your 80 plays a game, 80 to 100 plays a game are special teams plays. Very small sample size, but
huge impact.
Huge impact when things go wrong. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the receivers, they brought back Valdes-Scantling, which was a huge move. Glad they brought him back. He's kind of take the top off the defense guy. Lazard, kind of a do-it-all. He's good. I feel like that's how he gets open and has a lot of big plays. He's a big part of the blocking as far as cracking down on dudes in the slot, going and picking up linebackers on run plays, and then he's looking like he's going to block a guy, and then he turns and he catches the ball because it's you have to account for that when he's on the field. Obviously, bringing Adams back is without him, that offense wouldn't be nearly the same. But at the same time, if they can't work out a deal, all is not lost in that receiving room for the Packers.
Well, they just drafted Amari Rodgers last year, pretty high.
He hasn't. Yeah, he didn't get a ton of looks. I feel like because he was where Cobb should have been, and they bring in Cobb, and Cobb basically took all of his reps essentially.
And I feel like that wasn't a bad idea because now he was able to learn from Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the best slot receivers to play the game, especially in Green Bay. He's probably the greatest slot receiver Green Bay's ever had.
Yeah.
And then to show the young kid how to do it, who's going to be there, it seems like for a long time. I've heard nothing but people loving that Amari Rodgers kid.
Yeah. As far as Cobb, too, signs pointing to him retiring, hanging it up, not coming back because he came on a one-year deal. They're already dealing with cap issues. They have more important, high-value guys to keep. Unless he comes back for a minimum, I think that if he wants to play again, he goes elsewhere. Otherwise, I think this was kind of his last ride to come back to Green Bay, make a push for a Super Bowl. And if they got it, he hangs it up. If they didn't get it, he hangs it up. So I feel like we don't see Cobb back next year. Like I said, unless they bring him back for super cheap.
I do. I feel like they give him one more run just because he got hurt and he missed he missed a handful of games, 5-6 games. I feel like they'd say, all right, dude, let's go one more. Mm-hmm. Like if you can still do it, like if he can physically still do it, I feel like he's there and there's one more run.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be great to have him back, but like I said, there's more important spots that need to be filled, I think, than him right now.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, like the money that he's worth is the least impactful. Like they have the Smiths, they have so many people that have a lot of money that they need to figure out what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the moves they make this offseason, as you mentioned. Cap is going to be a big part of that as far as fixing all the issues, but all these teams have, what do they call them? Like circus or like I can't remember the exact terminology, but basically all these teams have a guy that they're way over the cap and they find a way to make it work every single year. Because that's always a talk every offseason. There's teams 20, 30, 50, Saints, I think, are 70 or 80 million in the hole for cap. They're still going to go out and get a quarterback this offseason. Like these teams figure out a way. Like that's the thing. So many people hate, Packers are so bit far in the cap hole. They're not going to be able to keep all these guys. Yeah, they will. If they can figure it out. They always do. Just like every other team. Like the Chiefs. They were in cap troubles after the Super Bowl against the 49ers. They go out and sign Patrick Mahomes to a $500 million deal. How do you do that? You figure it out.
Well, they had a whole new offensive line. That's how they did it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's always a way around it. There's never you have to get rid of everybody to make space. People take less. You restructure people's deals.
The good teams make it work because everybody wants success. There's not the one guy that's like, no, pay me. Yeah. Like, I need my money. Like it only works if everybody wants to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because like all it takes is for Bakhtiari to be like, dude, I need my $22.8 million this next year. Sorry, I'm not going to restructure. Or Kenny Clark, I deserve the $20 million that I'm making this year, which he has. But it's going to take all these people to restructure, lower their amount of money if they want to make it work.
Yeah.
And then on to my first, I guess, question for you. Two of them here. With all the new head coaches that we have Kevin O'Connell, Vikings, Matt Eberflus, the Bears, Brian Daboll with the Giants, Hackett with the Broncos. We have Doug Peterson with the Jags, Josh McDaniels with the Raiders, and then Mike McDaniels with the Dolphins. The one team left for the job is the Houston Texans. All rumors have it that Lovie Smith is going to be the next head coach down there. What team with the new head coach here do you think is going to finish the best next season, followed by which is going to finish the worst?
So the two teams I'm kind of leaning towards as far as having the best bounce back and kind of building off where they already were. The Raiders and the Dolphins. I mean, the Raiders had a postseason berth after, again, the guy that we picked up to become our special teams coordinator was the interim head coach there, got them to the playoffs. Lost a bunch of guys, just a shit show. They bring in Josh McDaniels, a more steady head, has proven success for ever since he's been in the league. I see them kind of bouncing back, getting back to the postseason. And as far as the Dolphins, one of the teams that have been on the outside looking in by barely a game, 1 or 2 spots the last 2 years in a row now here. Mike McDaniel, coming from San Francisco, a lot of success there under Kyle Shanahan, who, despite, I mean, the hate that he gets as far as the leads that he's blown and the bad management of games, has shown that he's one of the biggest offensive masterminds as far as play calling, utilizing guys, what he did with Deebo Samuel this past year. So yeah, Mike McDaniel down in Miami, they're right on the cusp of getting back to the playoffs. They don't lose 7 games to start the year. They're a playoff team. So I think that them bringing him in is going to be a huge step for that offense. Him being the former offensive coordinator, taking Tua under his wing, kind of developing him more, which again is still a question mark whether they roll with him. Sounds like they're going to roll with him. That's what all signs pointed to this past year. But again, with McDaniel now at the helm, maybe he thinks different. He's going to get rid of him, so we'll see. But those are kind of the 2 teams as far as I think that are going to have the best success. As far as the worst, Jacksonville again, I think is going to be eyeing up another first-round pick or a number 1 pick. Doug Peterson, again,
think they lose less. They don't win 3 games next year?
The Jaguars? Not necessarily, but they could win. They could win more and still be the worst team. Like they could win 4 or 5 games and still be the worst team in the league. But I don't see them jumping up past like 6 wins. I think they still stay in that like 3 to 5 win range. Is just as far as not a lot's changed in Jacksonville. They go out and get Trevor Lawrence, unless he completely turns a new leaf and is just absolutely balling next year, which I don't see happening, at least out the gate. I see progress. Just as he progressed a little bit towards the end of the year, still had his multi-interception games, not the best decision-making. Like, it wasn't quite all there at the end of the year. I think he has another slow start again, but obviously see progress through year 2. I don't know. I see Jacksonville kind of finishing either last or in the bottom 3 teams again next year.
Yeah, as far as, I guess I should have rephrased my question. I was just saying, like, which team, I should have said, improves the most and doesn't improve the most.
Okay. So then, yeah, still Jacksonville for not improving the most, because I only see them getting maybe 1 or 2 more wins next year, which isn't a big improvement. Going from 3 wins to 5 wins, you're still not a playoff team. As far as improvement, as far as where they ended this year to where they could be next year, Hackett with the Broncos. They're one good quarterback away from, I think, being one of the top teams in the AFC, honestly. Their defense has shown that they can go toe-to-toe with some of the best offenses. Their offense has some key guys, Gordon, Judy, Noah Fant. Like, they got guys offensively. It's just that the same thing we saw in Denver is the same thing we saw in Chicago. It's just that back and forth of Teddy, Lock. And in Chicago, Fields, Dalton. You're not going to see success when you bounce back and forth between 2 guys at QB. It just doesn't happen. So they got to either bring in a guy or just roll with one guy, which I think Teddy is the better guy between the 2 of him and Drew Lock. But yeah, as far as where the Broncos finished, I think that they'd have the best chance to improve and possibly see them in the postseason after missing it this past year?
I think the Giants and the Texans are going to be the most improved teams. They're going to get more wins, and I think potentially even be in conversation for a playoff hunt at the end of the year. And as far as teams to least improve, I think the Dolphins stay exactly where they're at. I see the Bills and Patriots only getting better. I don't see the Dolphins finding a way to get into the post. I don't see them taking a step forward this season, bringing in a new guy, when it kind of seemed Brian Flores had it figured out for this team the second half of the year when they went on that run. Now you're basically starting all over, and also with the rumors that your GM's paying $100,000 a game for a loss. I feel like that organization is just in trouble right now. And the Jags, yeah, I feel like they're going to need a whole overhaul on their team, as far as they should just ask who wants to be here, who doesn't. All the older guys that don't want to start over. Like, or maybe it just was Urban Meyer that really just fucking ran them into the ground that hard. Like,
Yeah.
It is really hard to tell at this point. They obviously do have the case for the most potential upside, as they only did win 3 games, so they could win more than that. But
yeah,
Titans, Colts, Texans, all 3 of those teams trending up. Jags, I still feel like I agree with you. I think they're going to get the number 1 pick next year. And I know Detroit wasn't in the conversation for a new coach, but where do you think they finish? Like, who do you think, I guess, has the most shocking turnaround? Whether that's a team that's already at the top, going one step further in the playoffs to the Super Bowl, who do you think has like the biggest improvement from this season to next season? Obviously, outside of the Super Bowl, because that's happening this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Lions is definitely a team that comes to mind, but another that kind of everybody forgot about because they had one down year, Seattle. Finishes last in the NFC West. They still have a lot of talented guys on that team. If they keep Russell Wilson, I could see them being one of the teams that improve the most, as far as where do they finish? 7-10, 6-11?
Yep. 7-10.
Yeah. So I could see him going from 7-10 to an 11-6, a 12-5 team next year, and being at the top of the NFC West, being a playoff team. I think that's a team that they have one down year. They find they figure it out. Only if they keep Russ, though. If they don't keep Russ, then I think they kind of stay put as far as that 500, sub 500 record, but they bring Russ back. They get a full healthy year out of him. They go get a couple pieces, beef up that line. Now that I know that's been a concern for them in Seattle. Yeah, I see Seattle getting back to the postseason next year after one down year.
I'm going to go in the AFC here. I think the Chargers, with how many close games in the last 2 years that they've literally lost by less than 7 points. Joey Bosa, huge impact. Their defense is really good. Austin Eckler, running back, one of the top. Keenan Allen, like, they have the guys to do it. I feel like they're 1-2 moves away. I feel like from getting a great offensive tackle to protect the backside, and maybe getting another pass rusher to opposite end of Joey to just make that D-line so good, because their secondary is one of the best in football. As far as taking the ball away, pass coverage, like, they're one of the top in the league. Yeah, I think the Chargers leap the Raiders, and I feel like we see basically the same teams in the postseason next year. Except for the Steelers, I feel like don't get in, and the Colts do. Otherwise, I feel like it's going to be the same thing, minus the Raiders. Chargers get in. And yeah, I feel like where the NFL is right now, with all of its young quarterbacks now taking over, this league looks like it's going to be so fun to watch for 10, 20 years coming, because all of these young guys who know how to play are the quarterbacks. Like, we have a potential for 5-6 people to potentially live out a Tom Brady career-ish with the Super Bowls and all that, like MVPs. Like Mahomes has got one already. He's got an MVP in his 4th year. Like Burrow, potentially what he's doing right now. Stafford finally getting like Josh Allen. There's so many young guys. The Tuas, the Joneses. There's 10 possibilities for the next GOAT out there.
Yeah.
With how good these guys are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so long as they all stay healthy, that's been an issue for some of them as far as, Burrow, as far as his bounce back from last year. Obviously, hopefully he stays healthy. He's definitely one of those guys, as you mentioned, that could be the face of the NFL for the next 10, 20 years.
See the rumors also this weekend about A-Rod in Cleveland. He was in Cincinnati, or he was in Cleveland meeting with people this weekend.
I haven't heard anything of it.
Yeah, I was just wondering if he did or not, because it was hilarious, like what happened. Typical people spreading rumors, and he was taking care of AJ Hawk's kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say the fact that, like, if I haven't seen 3 to 5 credible sources mention it, then I don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, he was in a gym watching girls basketball because he was taking care of AJ Hawk's kid, and he was sitting next to somebody that had a Cleveland Browns hat on, and there's all this. Oh, he's meeting with Browns people. He's doing this, and he's just like, dude, these people are fucking idiots.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I was wondering if you happened to hear it or not, because it's so funny.
If I did, honestly,
it was kind of a lot of places.
Honestly, if I did, I probably looked past it because there's some shit that I just I see and it just bounces off because I was just like, okay, that's not credible. I'm not going to waste my time digging into it. So if I did see it, it didn't stick because I knew it wasn't worth wasting my time on. But
I feel like we're going to hear something every weekend. Last weekend it was Nashville. This weekend it was Cleveland. Where's it going to be next week?
Kansas City. He went there for some barbecue. He's taking over Mahomes.
Went there for a State Farm job and be with all.
Yeah.
It's just funny. And he's the only guy that they do that about too. Like that's the funniest part.
Yeah.
It's like the media likes to pick on him.
Yeah, it's weird. Eventually somebody will do something will happen where it'll come off of him, or once he makes his decision, but then once he makes his decision, then there's going to be everybody talking about, oh, why did he go here? What's that team going to look like? Like, I don't know. I feel like he's been quiet his whole career. Now that he's finally opened up his mouth and he's kind of trolling the media with some of the shit he says, now they just feed off of it and they want more. Starting off our NHL segment here, All-Star Weekend is behind us, kind of getting past that halfway point. Kind of looking at the standings right now, as far as the 12 teams that would be a sure lock for the playoffs right now with the top 3 spots in their divisions. Just going to list them all off here quick. We got Florida, Tampa, Toronto, Carolina, the Rangers, Pens, Avalanche, Predators, Wild, Vegas, Kings, and Ducks. All currently would be in the playoffs, obviously pending, wild cards beyond that too, but these would be a for sure lock. Of these teams, which do you see falling out and missing the postseason entirely?
If there is going to be, it's going to be the it's going to be the Kings and the Ducks. I feel like if teams are going to get caught and pushed out, those are the teams that are going to get caught by the Flames and the Oilers that are working their way back to games played. I feel like other than that, every other team is super strong. worse that they're going to drop to with the point differential and point spread that there is. That's kind of the only possibilities of even happening, as the East is pretty much all but locked up at this point. I mean, the one crapshoot that you do have is the Islanders because they still have under 40 games played.
Yeah.
So you don't know what they're going to do. But other than that, it's kind of set at this point. It's going to come down to that Pacific Division. And I know Eichel, videos reported earlier today, he was finally cleared of non-contact. So he finally is back to normal practice for the first time today. So who knows how long that's going to be before Vegas even gets another guy added back when they're already at the top.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the East, as you said, a lot of separation. I mean, I'd say Pittsburgh in that third spot, 3 points ahead of Washington. One less game played, so that's good for Pittsburgh, but also 3 points is only 2 games. But the division I'm kind of looking at as far as a team or two that could drop, well, actually just one team kind of. Nashville, sitting in that second spot at 60 points. Minnesota, 1 point behind them and 5 less games played. The Blues, 3 points behind them and 2 less games played. I could see Nashville falling out into that 4th spot, 5th spot. We talked about them last week, Dallas Stars, them kind of turning around and playing a little better than they were. I mean, still some catching up to do. They're 12 points back, but they also have 3 less games played than Nashville. So I think Nashville could potentially be that team in the Central that, yeah, they're in that second spot with 60 points, but also every team behind them, with the exception of Chicago, has less games played. So they have room to make that up. And it, just as far as looking over going into the All-Star break, Nashville is 5-3-2. St. Louis was 7-3. Minnesota was 9-0-1. So there's teams behind them that have been playing better hockey. So I think that Nashville could be the team that completely falls out and goes into that wild card spot in the West.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I just don't see. Yeah, I guess we'll see. St. Louis is just too inconsistent. Nashville obviously is right now, but they have a couple of their top guys out of the lineup with injuries, and they're still going about 500 down a few of their top guys, which is still impressive. And yeah, it's coming around. I guess we'll see. And that ties kind of into my statement / hot take for you. The 4 teams that are currently in first: Avalanche, Golden Knights, Florida Panthers, and the Hurricanes. What teams do you think win their respective conferences and divisions?
Just overall, does
most points in each division, and then who do you think wins each conference?
So starting in the East, in the Atlantic, I think Florida stays in the top spot. They got a 3-point lead right now, given they do have one more game played. But still, even if Tampa wins that game to make it up, they're still a point back. They're just unbelievable goal scoring this year. I think they lead the league in goals, 194 goals. Is that leading? It is. Yeah, they've just 7, 8, 9 goals, just lighting the lamp nonstop every night that they play. I think they stay at the top. Still, Tampa, they like to fly low under the radar. Oh, we got guys out, and then they make their push in the postseason, getting guys back. In the Metro, kind of a while they went to the All-Star break on a little bit of a slump. I'm going to say Pittsburgh makes a run and finishes on the top of the Metro. They're only 2 points back. one less game played than the Rangers, but still they have 4 more games than Carolina. I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to turn it on here, especially if they make a couple moves before the trade deadline. They go make a move for Marc-Andre Fleury. Again, that's just a rumor, not really a whole lot of weight behind that, but still a possibility for him to come back home where it all started. I just like where Pittsburgh's at, and I think that they make a push. And then as far as the East, Florida winning the East, I don't think Pittsburgh catches them as far as points. In the West, Colorado, been kind of riding with them all year. Again, last game's played in Nashville with an 8-point lead. They hold that. And as you mentioned, Vegas, they're still missing guys, and they're leading the Pacific with less games played than the Kings and Ducks, are both behind them. And then same thing, Colorado, 68 points. They take the West. So that's kind of my 4 predictions and the 2 winners out of each conference.
Then I'll stick with the West, right where you left off. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Wild winning the Central Division. I'm going to go with the Golden Knights winning the Pacific Division, with the Wild winning the Western Conference. I think Colorado, with McKinnon out of the lineup right now and with their goaltending question marks, I feel like we see them slide a little bit. The Wild has been the one team all year long that hasn't really wavered in any way of losing any guy for a long stretch. They have 2 solid goaltenders. Their young guys are playing stellar. Offseason moves that they made to really free up a lot of room on that team to still be able to go get somebody at the trade deadline if they do need to go get a vet or another scorer. They're able to do so. Their defense is top notch. Yeah, I see the Minnesota Wild winning the Western Conference. And then going over to the East, I see Tampa out-edging the Florida Panthers for the Atlantic Division, followed by the Carolina Hurricanes winning the Metro. Rob Brindamore, head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, just came out the other day and said, we have 3 teams on our radar: Rangers, Penguins, Caps. The 3 teams below them, and that's all they're really concerned about as far as arch nemesis, arch rivals. They're out to win, and hence they are on a 4-game heater right now. I see them carrying this for – I think they're going to separate themselves shortly here and run away with the Metro. And then as far as winning the Eastern Conference – I'm going to go Tampa. I think Tampa. No, just kidding. Carolina. Carolina is going to win the President's. Is going to win the East and the President's Trophy most points.
I was just about to, when you were finishing saying that, I was just about to ask kind of a follow-up, the President's Trophy. Yeah, Carolina. I'm going to stick with Colorado. Again, they got games to make up. They're already, like you mentioned, they are without McKinnon, but it came at a good time. So where they're with the All-Star break, they dropped 1 game before it without him. Like the break here, instead of losing 3, 4, 5 games without him, they haven't lost any. So that's helped them a lot. To where if that injury came at a different part of the year, then yeah, I could see them slipping farther. But I still think that they got enough power on that team to kind of stay where they're at, especially with games to make up.
Yeah, we'll have a good indication of how they're going to handle themselves right away out the gate here, as they have the Lightning Stars twice back-to-back, then Vegas. So they have 4 really tough games coming up here, also in a short period of time, 6 days.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Hurricanes too, as far as looking to separate themselves. Tonight, for one of the first 2 games out of the All-Star break, they head to Toronto for a game against the Leafs. And then over their next handful of games here, they got Wild, Panthers, Predators, Pens. Like, they got over that basically brings them close to the end of February, but still, if they can get past all these teams, then yeah, they're going to definitely separate themselves, but also they can be brought back down to earth very quickly as they have a stretch of some tough games here in February.
Yeah, one thing that's also going to be a benefit to them is that I don't believe they had any all-stars. So full team rested, recovered at home. And the Maple Leafs had Austin Matthews out there. Oh, just kidding. I think Sebastian Aho went.
Yeah, he did. He won the accuracy challenge, I think.
So, yep, there's your Carolina Hurricane.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good.
Oh yeah, sounds good. One other quick tangent here. I've seen discussions. What do you think about them adding fighting to college hockey?
I think it's cool. I mean, it just adds to the atmosphere. I know they've been, because what is it? It's a suspension if they were doing it before.
Yeah, right now you're tossed out.
Yeah, and now what? They're just gonna add it like normal. Just you sit in the bin for fighting.
I think you'd get a 5 and a 10, so you'd get a misconduct as well.
Okay. But still, I mean, lessening the penalty of it, kind of encouraging it more. I mean,
it's not encouraging it. It's just allowing for it to happen.
Well, yeah. I guess that's a better way to say it. But I mean, it's going to happen no matter what. I feel like you're killing that part of these guys' brains to say you have to remove that part of your game unless you want to suffer the consequences and essentially maybe cost your team like a seeding spot or a playoff push if you're out and you're one of the top guys. So yeah, definitely lessening the penalty. I like that a lot. I feel like it's been a long time coming to kind of do that. So good on the NCAA's part to kind of pull back the reins on that part of hockey.
Yeah, I'm glad they're at least discussing it, because as playing juniors, when you're a young kid, before you even can go to college, you are already fighting. You are already doing all those other things. So then to take that complete part out of your game, whether that's protecting yourself, protecting a teammate, whatever the case may be, for you to be able to drop the mitts and let her be over, sit in the box, and it's all done and over with, instead of, oh, fuck, I think I costed our team now, or whatever the case may be. I feel like it is a good step towards, I would like to just see it be 5 minutes and let the kids go back out.
Yeah.
I feel like their game should be exactly the same as juniors. Like, why change that part where you're almost going backwards?
Yeah. In the same age group.
Yeah.
Where you're playing two different styles of hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, give or take, you're close to the same age group, because you have some guys that play juniors till they're 20 and then don't become a freshman till they're 21, where you have other kids who are 17 that are freshmen.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of age, but that's the same as juniors. That's why I said it should be exactly the same, because you do have that age gap there as well. And then another tangent, more recently, women's college hockey players are basically pleading that they would like their game to become a contact sport. What do you think about that?
I mean, I like that as well. Again, when like it's the physicalness, the contact, the fighting, the checking, like it's the foundation, it's the roots of hockey. And I feel like to kind of pick and choose, and like you're making the comparison of juniors and NCAA being different, and now they kind of that fighting, they're starting to allow it more in college. For women's hockey too, like I see why, like obvious, like the stereotype of like masculine, like contact fight, like these women are playing like if you're playing the same sport as a man, you should be you should have the same rules, the same criteria, the same things to follow as the guys do.
So that was basically the main argument that I heard to support this whole cause.
Yeah.
As well, was that women hockey players are sick of. It turns out that there's way more concussions in women's hockey than there is men's hockey, because of the collisions that do happen are happening in such a way that you're not expecting to be hit or even having the chance to be hit.
Yeah.
Where if you were to know that that is a part of the game, you protect yourself in that way. And if you don't, you're going to get your shit fucked up.
Yeah.
That's a part of learning how to play. And they already are as skilled and as fast as the men play. So yeah, I don't see any reason, like you said, why there should be a difference, as the skill levels are about exactly the same. I'd almost say women's hockey is almost even a little higher skilled.
Yeah. And kind of the way of looking at it too, as far as watching men's hockey, contact fighting, and then like the way they're treating women's is like this past weekend, how we saw the Pro Bowl. It'd be like watching a regular football game, and then watching the Pro Bowl is like watching women's hockey. Like that's the image you want to give off, like that, like of less contact, less like you're taking that part out of the game, and it's like it's ruining it in a way. So yeah, hopefully they do right by it and like start to tailor these games that men or women, college, juniors, NHL, like they start to overlap a little, because in football, high school to college to NFL, aside from in high school, you have 12-minute quarters to college.
And the ball size, that's about it.
And the ball size, yeah. That's the only different part of the game. That's literally it. And then in hockey, how they got, let's change this, let's change. No. Like, you know what you're getting into when you get into the game. Like, at no matter what level. Because otherwise, I feel like you're going to start to see a downward trend if you keep like keeping the college and like these lower levels more PG. The guys who make it to the AHL, NHL, you're gonna have a lot of guys dropping like, holy fuck, like that's what it feels like to get hit. I don't want any of that. You train those guys early enough that it becomes a part of their game, a part of their mindset. Like it builds them to that level.
Yeah, that's the one thing, unfortunately, with all the science about CT and head injuries and all that stuff, they're not allowing kids to hit at the age that you used to be able to.
Yeah.
So you're slowing that progression down already. Like that's where the stoppage of it, I feel like it started, is once you target the youth to change how that eventually it's going to meet the time where it gets full circle around and you're going to have like that case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some interesting changes. Hopefully they, do right by it and make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's only been getting better and better. They allow a lot more contact between women's hockey than they used to. Like they let the women at least rub each other out into the boards, some open ice hits. But as far as lining somebody up with their head down and just being able to put them in the next week, that should still be a part of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everyone for stopping by of our first episode of Offsides. Be sure to tune in tomorrow.